consolidate them in such a way that questions can be asked of candidates at large, meaning offices. So I want to be clear about this point. You don't have to ask a question that could be asked to chief, clerk, and council candidates. Pick one of those, but it has to be for those candidates for that office. All right? Any questions about that? You've been good? Would appreciate if all the cell phones get turned off, and we'll get going here in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much.
Oh, I was like, well, I thought that was a code or something. I'm in trouble.
Get behind the runner. Steal second.
Hi. I missed the first part. Do I give this to you?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Clara Vote's first candidate forum. My name is Fred Keeley. I will be your host this evening. We're going to hear from candidates for Chief of Police of the City of Santa Clara, City Clerk for the City of Santa Clara, and those candidates who are seeking election to City Council seat number 4. We will hear from other council candidates for the other seats tomorrow evening. Next week on Thursday, we will in essence repeat this with council seat number 4, Chief of Police candidates and City Clerk candidates. And then on the following evening, a week from Friday, we will have the second council candidate forum for the remainder of the city council seats. So we will have a total of 2 subject matter forums for the Chief of Police and City Council candidates and Council seat number 4, City Clerk's Chief of Police Council seat number 4. 2 of those, and we'll have 2 of those also for the other candidates. My name is Fred Keeley. I'm the city's democracy consultant. For many years, the city of Santa Clara has had a vote ethics program and a democracy consultant. For a long time, that was Dr. Tom Shanks, formerly of the Markula Center for Ethics at Santa Clara University. I am not at Santa Clara University. I have a background as an elected official, as a county supervisor, a county treasurer, and state legislator. I have also served on the Governor's Task Force on the Economy of the 21st Century and the Fair Political Practice Commission Chairman's Commission on revisions to the California Fair Political Practices Act. I currently reside in Santa Cruz, where I have for a long time, and have no tie in terms of any involvement in the city of Santa Clara, short of being the city's contract democracy consultant. This evening we will hear from Chief of Police candidates first, then City Clerk, then Council seat number 4. The format will be that the candidates will be seated as the Chief of Police candidates are now, from your left to right in ballot order, not in alphabetical order, but in ballot order. They will begin with opening statements of 2 minutes each. We will then take 2 questions which have been submitted in advance of the forum, and they will have 2 minutes each on those questions, and then 2 minutes closing remarks. I will alternate the order in which the candidates speak so that there's fairness in that regard. We will begin this evening with the Chief of Police candidates. Let me say that if you have a question this evening for the Chief of Police candidates or City Clerk or the council candidates who will be here tonight, there's a form right out there on the desk, right outside the council chambers. Write your question out, submit it, we'll see if it can get asked. The only test that I'm applying is that it be for all the candidates for that office, and secondly, that we have time for it. We will have more than one of these, so we'll do our best to get as many questions as we possibly can. With that, let me introduce our 2 candidates, Michael Sellers and Pat Nicolai, both running for the office of Chief of Police for the city of Santa Clara. Mr. Sellers, good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing? Good evening. My name is Mike Sellers. I have spent the last 31 years as a member of the Santa Clara Police Department and the last 4 years as your police chief. I'm running for re-election for the next 4 years because I have a desire to build upon the accomplishments and continue to implement programs and initiatives currently underway. Santa Clara is a diverse community, expanding rapidly with youth and innovation, mixed with long history and traditions the city was founded on. I am committed to leading this fine organization and maintaining our status as one of the safest cities in America. Crime rate in our city is currently down approximately 27%, and it's not by accident that we have achieved this remarkable rating of the 11th safest city in America. It's through the hard work, dedication, and excellent police work of my staff and partnering with the residents and business leaders. The increase of social media and the implementation of programs like Chat with the Chief and outfitting my officers with body-worn cameras have built stronger relationships with our community. I believe this election is all about qualifications and experience. During my 31 years, I have worked special assignments and held every supervisory and management rank within the organization. I was responsible for providing public safety plan at Levi Stadium, and I was also the lead law enforcement officer for Super Bowl 50, which has been recognized as being one of the safest Super Bowls. I manage a $64 million budget with a team of 230 employees and another 210 part-time per diem employees. My opponent is currently a sergeant and supervises 1 officer. He doesn't have the management experience to lead this organization. Out of all the elected positions this year, the police chief and the city clerk position are the most important. If the wrong person is elected, it will have a devastating effect on the city and the citizens we serve. I am the only qualified candidate. Please vote and re-elect me as police chief so I can continue to provide a safe community and continue our great working relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nicolai, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Pat Nicolai. I've been with the Santa Clara Police Department for 25 years. I have lived in Santa Clara for 24 years. I currently own a home in the Old Quad area, and I live there full time. I have worked every division in the department. I have worked patrol, investigation, services, community services, and even the temporary holding facility. I was the Police Association president for 14 years. I took a leave of absence to run for this office. In that position, I gained valuable management level experience, including negotiating multiple contracts, attending management team meetings, helping draft department policy, and even being involved in the disciplinary process. I am running on a platform of safety first, neighborhoods first, and financial transparency. Safety first. We need to increase our staffing immediately. We are at the same staffing levels as 25 years ago. I will dedicate the resources necessary to ensure that we can recruit the best candidates possible. And I will do it now so that we don't end up in a crisis like our neighbors in San Jose. Neighborhoods first. We need to hold the 49ers accountable for the problems near the stadium, such as traffic and noise. We need to establish residential parking zones near the stadium so that stadium visitors do not invade residential areas. We also need to hold university students accountable for their off-campus conduct by working with university administrators. Financial transparency. We need to stop using general fund money at the stadium. There was a civil grand jury, a district attorney's investigation, and an audit currently being conducted. The initial findings of the audit are that a significant portion of general fund money needs to be reimbursed to the city. My platform has earned me the endorsement of the Santa Clara Police Officers Association, the Fire Association, and the Public Safety Non-Sworn. I am the candidate for public safety. I'm also endorsed by Mayor Gilmore, Councilmember Watanabe, and Councilmember Caserta. Just last week, I was endorsed by retired Councilmember Will Kennedy. And just this morning, I earned the endorsement of South Bay Labor Council. I encourage you to join them and support me in November.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nicolai, keep your vocal cords ready to go because you will be up for answering the first question. First question, and I will reiterate, all questions have been submitted in advance that we are asking in this portion. No questions have I made up or made up a question. These are submitted in advance. First question, Mr. Nicolai. What is the appropriate role for the Police Officers Association in setting policy for the department?
I think the Police Officers Association should be a partner in setting policy. As you know, the law requires that the management work with the association in order to establish changes regarding wages and working conditions. So it is good to have a strong working relationship with the Police Officers Association because then you will have an opportunity to work collaboratively to get these issues resolved. If you have a contentious relationship, then the politics could get involved and you could end up butting heads and not working together to resolve the problem. So I believe you do need to have a strong relationship with the association. And it's not just the Police Officers Association. We have other bargaining units in the building as well, specifically the Public Safety Non-Sworn Association. You know, they have several issues as well. And they have had a contentious relationship, which has led to the filing of a PERB complaint. So if you were able to work collaboratively with them, then maybe you could resolve their problems and not have to resort to litigation.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sellers.
Can you repeat the question again?
Certainly. What is the appropriate role of the Police Officers Association in setting policy for the department?
Well, I firmly believe it's the chief of police that actually sets the policy for the police department, sets the vision and the direction. What we do, though, however, is whenever we do work on policy changes, we get the Police Officer Association or the association that the new policy affects and sit down and work together to come to a consensus that both parties agree. I'm proud to say that during my 4-year term, we have sat down a number of times with my opponent and worked out issues and policy changes. We've had to create a number of them with the stadium. We had several operational manual changes because of the stadium. Body-worn camera for example, and we've had also alter the pursuit policy. In all cases, we've been able to work together and devise a good, strong, sound policy. I would like to say, in working with the POA over the past 4 years, I have had 0 grievances, 0 complaints with the Police Officer Association, including the other 3 bargaining units within the organization. My opponent mentioned the PERB complaint. That was back in 2010 when I was not the police chief, and in my understanding it's just been recently settled. So in all the bargaining units within the police department, I feel that we need to work closely with them and be honest with them, and also at the end result get what we need done and have a good, solid policy. Thank you.
Mr. Sellers, you will be first up on this question. Many communities are reeling from incidents that some believe reflect either excessive use of force by police towards communities of color or lack of unbiased approach to policing. What are your thoughts about this national issue and how it relates to the city of Santa Clara and the job of the police chief?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important, and I think I've done a very good job, is reaching out into the community. I think we've always had community-oriented policing with the prior police chiefs, starting back with Frank Vasquez and Manny Ferguson, and I've continued that in my role. You know, started to chat with the chief, social media, having the officers wear body-worn cameras, all those create transparency and have that open dialogue. I'm constantly out in community meetings. I recently attended an Intel roundtable with several of the employees at Intel regarding this exact same subject. I think the open dialogue is extremely important. I think we in Santa Clara have very well trained police officers. They're very well educated, and they're very well disciplined. However, whenever we do get a use of force complaint, the use of force is reviewed by a number of levels of supervisors, and now we have the opportunity to look at the body-worn cameras. I think the key is that we need to be transparent, and we need to keep that open dialogue. Recently, the Police Officers Association sent a letter to the 49ers and the media regarding Colin Kaepernick, regarding his statements, and I think most of you have seen that. My position was, even as distasteful as his comments might have been, or as his actions, we still have a duty to protect and uphold the constitutional rights, and that which is the First Amendment. And I think, but what it does create is dialogue, which I think is extremely important. Even though I don't believe these issues are happening here in Santa Clara, I think it's very important to get the community engaged and still have these conversations throughout and talk about them. So thank you.
Mr. Nicolai, allow me to repeat the question. The question is, many communities are reeling from incidents that some believe reflect either excessive use of force by police towards communities of color or a lack of unbiased approach to policing. What are your thoughts about this national issue as it relates to the city of Santa Clara and the job of the police chief?
I believe that communication is by far the most important way to solve this problem. There are so many ways to communicate these days, and with the social media prevalence, the communication happens instantaneously. And I think part of the problem is that the law enforcement community has been slow to react to these changes, and they're not getting out information as rapidly as it should. And I think if there was a better exchange of information, it would help alleviate some of the concerns. Here in Santa Clara, another issue is our training. We need to make sure that our officers have the best training possible. Over the last few years, our training budget has been flat, and it has been the exception more than the rule when an officer gets training. Finally, this year, now we are getting some increased training. So that's good to see, because the training helps the officers handle a wide variety of situations. Another aspect I think would help with this is the CIT training. It's the critical incident training that some officers attend. I think that should be expanded because that helps officers communicate with a wide variety of individuals, and that will only help. I think we do need to keep the communication open with the public, and if they have concerns, we need to listen to them with open ears. I think you're right in that sometimes people assume that officers are judgmental and that they have an opinion already formed. We need to make sure that everyone at Santa Clara Police Department is aware that there could be the potential for problems and that we need to be able to solve those problems. And we need to realize that that starts internally.
We will now move to those questions which were submitted this evening. And Mr. Nicolai, we will begin with you. Mr. Nicolai, residential burglaries are at an all-time high throughout the Bay Area and in Santa Clara. What would you do as police chief to reduce these crimes and catch the bad folks?
I think the first thing we need to do is increase our staffing. You need to have a robust department that is proactive. If you look at our neighbors in San Jose, they are no longer a proactive department. They cannot go out and look for, like you said, the bad guys. They can only react to calls for service. We need to make sure that doesn't happen here. So we need to put the appropriate resources towards recruiting so that we can get those officers. Once we have those officers, then we need to utilize them appropriately. We have a team called the SET team. It's a plainclothes detail. These officers work in the city and out of the city. They make by far the most arrests of any unit in this agency. We need to increase the size of that unit. That would help eliminate the problem. They already do projects like, bait bikes and bait packages, and they are actively looking to solve these types of crimes. Because if you actively go out and look for the people that are doing this before they commit the crime, you're going to lower the crime rate. So the key really is staffing and then using the new staff appropriately to make sure that the neighborhoods are protected.
Let me repeat the question, Mr. Sellers. Residential burglaries are at an all-time high throughout the Bay Area and Santa Clara. What would you do as police chief to reduce these crimes and catch the bad folks?
Well, first of all, I disagree with that statement. In Santa Clara, commercial and residential burglaries have dropped significantly over the last 2 years, and if you look at my flyer over there, it talks about, I believe it's about a 30% drop in the last 2 years. Law enforcement in the county, I work very closely with all the county chiefs of police, and this has been a problem in the entire state of California with the passage of AB 109, which was the realignment where they had prisoners now being transported down in the county jail system. Prop 47, which was just passed last year, I believe it was, when they decriminalized certain crimes, specifically property crimes. We saw a huge increase in the entire state where crimes were being committed because there basically more prisoners were being released on our streets, and then the crimes didn't mean anything. People were not being prosecuted. So we all got very proactive in the county here, and I'm very happy to say it was a partnership. I went out to the community, chat with the chiefs through our social media, educating our public with the new crimes, telling them how to prevent being a victim in the crimes. When you're in a store parking lot like a Mercado or at a restaurant up in the north side or anywhere else, is to lock your belongings inside your trunk, not leave them visible, even if it's in your driveway. It's very unfortunate that it has to happen, but it is. But the community outreach, the patrol checks, we initiated our crime analysis, got involved looking at where all the hot spots, where these crimes were occurring. We saturated the area with our special enforcement team and additional patrol checks. Had undercover vehicles. We put out bait cars. We did all these things to try to combat, to create your city, my city, our city, a very safe community. And I think we've done an excellent job with our partnership, not only with my officers, but with you. And I really encourage you to look at the Unified Crime Report, which is the information that's sent to the state. Our crime has been reduced in the last 2 years, and I think it's because of our partnership. Thank you.
Mr. Sellers, we will begin this question with you. With the grand jury investigation and the forensic audit commissioned by the City Council, specifically to make sure that any general fund resources that were used were properly accounted for and fully reimbursed with regard to Levi's Stadium, do you believe the police department has fully complied with Measure J?
Yes, I do, and I have to tell you that I am fully supportive of this audit. I know there's been a lot of questions about it. I really want this audit to be thorough and clear and have a good investigation behind it. Just like we did on the first financial audit that we had this about a year ago, including the Santa Clara County grand jury investigation. Both of those, we completely cooperated. I encouraged my employees to talk to the investigators if they were called upon, and that's what they did. You know, you have to understand, when that stadium came, I was not one of those that was out on the commercials waving the white flag and saying, hey, Major J, let's have the stadium. When I became chief, the stadium was here, and my number one concern, folks, is the safety of the neighborhood, protect those neighborhoods over there around the stadium during large-scale events, and all the fans that attend these large-scale events. You just look in the paper right now with the New York, New Jersey bombings. That's what keeps me up at night, is when we have these large-scale events, I fear that we're going to have a terrorist attack, and it's my responsibility, my job to secure those stadium and those events to make sure it's safe for everybody to attend. So that is my number one priority when I do that. You know, Levi Stadium, since I inherited that, the Stadium Authority really created all of this. You know, I'm dealing with the Creek Trail situation. The Creek Trail has to be closed during events because it wasn't constructed right with the bridges. And whose fault is that? It's not my fault, but I'm getting the blame for it. It's the Stadium Authority for not designing, and the planning folks not designing it properly. So, you know, they have to take some responsibility. The Stadium Authority still hasn't hired a stadium manager. I've spent hours, hundreds of hours of my own time out at the stadium, and while my opponent works overtime and has received probably $40,000 to $50,000 in overtime working out there. I'm there to support that stadium, and I'm fully supportive of this audit, and I'm waiting to hear and see how it plays out. Thank you.
Mr. Nicolai, I'll repeat the question for you. With the grand jury investigation and the forensic audit commissioned by the City Council, specifically to make sure that any general fund resources used at Levi Stadium were properly accounted for and fully reimbursed, do you believe that the police department has fully complied with Measure J?
No, I do not. I believe that the police department has spent general fund money at Levi Stadium. This has been an ongoing problem, and I have tried to address this publicly. I have had officers approach me with what their concerns were about possible Measure J violations. I approached the chief and asked the chief to let the officers speak publicly about this issue. There's currently a prohibition. We cannot speak to the media without the chief's permission. He has refused to allow the members to speak publicly about this. So our officers are reporting to the auditor, and they are giving them an update. As I mentioned in my opening, the initial audit report was just completed, and the audit report said that it appears there is a significant amount of money that is going to need to be reimbursed to the city. That means general fund money was spent at the city. I am confident that as more information arises, that more specific details will emerge. As you've stated also, there was a civil grand jury. So the civil grand jury interviewed people. It was confidential, so I don't know who they interviewed. But their bottom line was, we can't figure out this problem, but you're doing an audit, that's great. The audit should be able to find the problem. And actually, the audit needs to go back to the time the stadium was opened to make sure that all the costs are recovered. It was also reported in the paper that the district attorney office is conducting a criminal investigation on the possible gift of public funds. In my line of work, when you see this many things pointing to something, that means that there's something wrong. And again, I believe there's something wrong, and if I could talk to the public about it, I would. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The good news is we have time for more questions. I said there'd be 2 in advance and 2 night of. We've done that. You have plenty of time left, so we're going to try a couple of more that have been submitted tonight. And we will begin this one with Mr. Nicolai. Mr. Nicolai, north of Bayshore is the most rapidly growing area of the city of Santa Clara. What is the plan for the police department to keep up with this level of intense development, particularly beyond staffing levels? Sir.
I'm sorry, beyond staffing levels?
That's the, let me read the question again, because at that end of it, I can understand why that might, I'll read it again. North of the Bay Shore is the most rapidly growing area of the city. What is the plan for the police department to keep up with this level of intense development? Why don't we stop the question there? The rest, I'm afraid, from my point of view, is a little hard to understand, so we'll stop it there.
Okay. I assume that when it said beyond staffing, the obvious answer to that is we need to increase the staffing. And that's one of my mantras that I've been campaigning on. You know, when the staffing study was just completed, it basically said we need 13 new police officers right now. And that didn't count any growth. So when you look at the development on the north side of town, specifically the new development north of the stadium, it's fairly obvious that we are going to need additional officers to staff up there. So if you don't count that, how are we going to patrol out there? Well, one of the things I think we should look at doing is establishing another substation in the new development. We have a substation at Rivermark that is, you know, very beneficial to the north side. If we're going to have a whole new development, you know, called Santana Row on steroids, I think that would be another good location for another substation. And then we need to think about patrolling that area. We're going to need to increase patrol staffing out there, specifically for nights and weekends. If you think about what is going out there, it's supposed to be an entertainment district. So you're going to have restaurants, you're going to have bars, I mean, there's hotels, there's going to be housing as well. If you think about all the problems that those kinds of institutions bring to an area, you need to realize that you're going to have to increase your staffing. Because as of right now, on a typical day, there's one beat officer assigned north of 101. That's not going to cut it under the system. That means we need to realign our beats. We need to have more officers on the north side of town. And again, it goes back to staffing levels, because you have to get those officers in order to staff it properly.
Let me repeat the question for you, sir.
I think I may have it.
Well, fine.
Okay.
Good.
So staffing needs to be increased. That's the reason why I hired CPSM to do a staffing study late last year. They came across and said we need 24 additional new bodies, 13 officers and 11 non-sworn. And they took in consideration the current development that was on the books, and that was their recommendation. They also recommended some internal process to streamline some of the things that we do and convert some sworn positions into non-sworn positions. We're looking at the number of recommendations that they have made. I agree that the north side is being built out, related project. I've worked with the developers, with the council members to develop a plan for out there. We have estimated that we're going to need 10 additional officers to patrol that particular area out there. There is, unbeknownst to my opponent didn't know this, but there is going to be a substation out there with for security, which we will have a partial real estate and being able to go in there and write reports. They've assured me that they're going to have their own private security on the footprint, which will also help with us. But I think the additional 10 officers, which will be about a 5-year push when Related starts building and starts opening up, and we'll have those officers available. We are currently progressively trying to hire people. It's very competitive. Since January, we've hired 12 officers, and we're going to continue to do that. We've hired a number of lateral officers, I'm happy to report, which means that the training and having them back on the street is much quicker. We've actually recruited people from locally, from Palo Alto and San Jose and the Sheriff's Office, so we're continuing to be very, very aggressive. Once we hire the recommended staffing levels that the CPSM required, I'm going to go back to council, especially with all this development, additional development they're bringing to us, and ask for additional officers. And that is my goal, and that's what we're going to do, is ask for more staffing so that we can properly provide the proper security on the north side of town.
Mr. Sellers, we'll begin this question with you. Lafayette Street between Calle de Luna and Agnew are used as pickup zones during the stadium events, and cars are parked over the bike lane, and posts clearly stating, quote, "no parking during stadium events," end quote, and it creates traffic jams and poses safety hazards for vehicles and pedestrians. Here comes the question. What will you do to help with egress and protect neighborhoods? Sir.
I've already been directly involved in this. The problem is Uber. We found out, been working with the neighborhood protection detail out there, and we're finding that Uber, especially when the fans can pick the location to be picked up. During the Super Bowl, we identified called Red Lot 7, which is on the far north end of Great America Parkway, and that was a pickup and drop-off area. I talked to the stadium management thinking that would be a great way to do, or great way to go. They have negotiated with Uber, and they have selected a location at Great America Parkway at Tasman at the northwest corner, which will facilitate about 200 to 300 Uber vehicles. They just recently implemented this contract and was moving forward. We found out at the Beyonce, instead of having 200 Uber cars, we had close to 1,000 show up. And what had happened is that parking lot overfilled, and people went to the area of Lafayette and into the residential area. So we are aggressively working with the stadium folks to identify a new location, potentially that Red Lot, and Uber. I had a meeting with them earlier this week. We're going to have additional officers out there on motorcycles, and they will be issuing citations for any of the vehicles, the Uber drivers, that stop and park illegally out in the residential area. So you will see increased enforcement out there. Hopefully they will get the message. The problem is with Uber is that when you could pick a location and change the location to be picked up, and in addition, you actually assign yourself to a specific driver. It's not like a cab service where you can stack all the cars up and a person or a couple can get into the vehicle and go. They actually try to identify the customer with the driver, which compounds the situation, and then you can also move the location. They can call each other and they can say, pick me up over here or over there. It is a problem, and we're trying to deal with it through enforcement and working with the companies.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nicolai, I'd be glad to repeat the question. Would you like me to?
No, I think I understand.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I agree with the chief on one issue here. It is the problem with Uber. And it was just posted on the website that the 49ers reached an agreement with Uber to make them a partner in this. Now, from my understanding is they didn't contact the city and they didn't contact the police department to see if this was going to work. They just made this agreement, and then they decided that they were just going to let the Uber vehicles work on the street at Great American Tasman. As the chief mentioned, during the Super Bowl, they did go into Red Lot 7. And last night at council, I spoke and said they should put them back in Red Lot 7 again. So, what are the 49ers doing? They are not doing that. They are putting them on the street. And why is that? Because it would cost money to rent out Red Lot 7, which is up on Great America near Great America Way. So instead of paying the money to get the Uber vehicles off the street, they're letting them run amok, which is causing a problem. So here's where I differ from the chief. The chief should be able to tell them, no, this is not acceptable. We are not going to let these vehicles interfere with our traffic plan. Because the bottom line is, when you have 1,000 or 1,500 Uber vehicles descending into your event, it is going to totally disrupt your traffic planning. And again, the 49ers did not contact the police department or the special events unit to work on this problem. They did this without anyone's knowledge until it was posted today. And as you can see, we are facing these results. So what I would do differently is I would tell the 49ers they either needed to provide an appropriate location for them, or we would not let Uber vehicles into our area.
Thank you, sir. We're going to have one more question that has come from the audience, and when we finish the answers to this question, then we will move into closing statements for you gentlemen. Mr. Nicolai, we will begin this question with you. The question is a generalized question. It uses the word leadership many times and actually is posed as 4 different questions. So I'll try to consolidate it into a single question. As chief of police, which is essentially an elected administrative position, not a policy-making position per se, what does leadership look like to you as a chief of police? working not only with the department, but interacting with other elected officials in the city, with other departments and operations of the city, as well as the community. What does leadership as a chief police look like to you, sir?
Well, I think when you're the leader of the police department, you need to have a vision. You need to know where the department is headed and where it needs to go. I believe that's one of the big differences between myself and my opponent, is he seems more concerned with the day-to-day operation of the department as opposed to where the department needs to go. For example, they get a list of everybody's statistics on a regular basis. I don't think the chief of police needs to know how many officers wrote how many tickets in a specific team. I believe that should be delegated down to the appropriate person, the sergeants, the lieutenants, the captains. I believe the chief should be focused on leading the department, deciding where the department needs to go. You look back at the history of the department and you think of where it has been, where it is right now, and is it headed in the right direction? I don't believe it is. When I started 25 years ago, we were one of the premier agencies in the state. Now when you hear about Santa Clara Police Department, it's for a bad thing as often as it's for a good thing. We need to change that. And I really think that's part of the leadership that is lacking right now. I think when you're a leader, you work collaboratively with your employees. You don't micromanage them. You let them do their job that they are supposed to be doing. You have some accountability at all levels, and you encourage growth at the department. And I think that is part of the leadership that I see is lacking and what I plan to bring to the table.
Thank you. Mr. Sellers, would you like me to essentially repeat the question?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. This question contains a lot of references to leadership. And so the question that I would try to consolidate is something like this. Given that this is an elective administrative position as opposed to a policy-making position, and you would be working with other elected officials as well as other department heads as well as the community, what does leadership by the chief of police look like to you?
Leadership, to me, is a person that has vision and a mission for the department. They make those tough decisions when they need to. They hold people accountable when they need to. They provide direction and policy. They work in partnership with council members, other elected officials, work other department heads within the department, and you also outreach to county chiefs, international chiefs of police, and work with legislative and the and state legislators. You really need to be the point of contact and show that what the vision of Santa Clara Police Department and that agencies can come to us and ask us for advice. I think we really saw that during the Super Bowl. We were the lead host agency for Super Bowl 50. We had several federal, state, and local agencies that had to come together and work with us, and the collaboration was amazing, and I think that's so important. I disagree with my opponent is that we are a premier agency. We have people from other agencies coming here and wanting to work for us. Like I mentioned earlier, we had 2 Palo Alto police officers just lateral, one being the Police Officer Association president in Palo Alto, and he specifically said the reason why I came here is because you have a premier agency and you are the best agency around in this county, and I want to work for the best. And that's exactly what I think a leadership of our department should be.
Thank you, sir. We've now arrived at closing statements, and we began opening statements with Mr. Sellers, so we will begin closing statements with Mr. Nicolai. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My opponent seems to think that years of service and an online degree are what's most important for a police chief. They are nice, but they are no substitute for leadership and integrity. That's why I think I'm actually the best qualified candidate for this position. Rather than look at his resume, let's look at his record. He was recently asked what the department was doing wrong and what he would like to change. He said nothing was wrong. He was asked about the officers who were recently arrested and asked if there was any changes he would like to make so that did not reoccur. He said no. He has been touting that we are the 11th safest city, when in actuality, Our violent crime rate has increased 60% over this time last year. He has said that no general fund money was used at the stadium. The initial report from the audit shows that a significant amount of general fund money was used. I offer a change. I will bring leadership and vision to the department. I will ensure that no general fund money is used at the stadium. I will work with the stadium authority to ensure that the public safety budget is at the level it needs to be. I will increase staffing levels so that neighborhoods are protected and crime actually drops, not hang my hat on a meaningless statistic. I will repair the morale of the department, increase peer support, and ensure that the officers protect you with integrity and honor. My mission is to ensure that Santa Clara Police Department is the best agency in the state. That is why Mayor Gilmore, Councilmember Caserta, and Councilmember Watanabe have endorsed me. That's a majority of the council members who have taken a position in this race. That is why all of Santa Clara Public Safety has endorsed me. These are the men and women who are most familiar with me and the chief. That says a lot. I ask you, the voters, to join them and support better leadership by voting for me in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicolai. Mr. Sellers.
Well, I just want to thank everyone again for coming here tonight. You know, this election process has been very interesting and disappointing at the same time. I wanted to go back to the audit. I really believe this audit smells of dirty politics. Just take a look at June 28th City Council meeting, item number 16C, and you be the judge how the vendor was selected. Just recently, KPIX shows up at the ad hoc committee meeting with the opponent there. How does that happen? You know, how does the process just seems to be very unethical, and I just would really encourage you to take a look at it. If the audit finds that the 49ers weren't charged certain monies, they absolutely have to pay, and they should be responsible for that. But that's something that the stadium authority needs to hold them to. You know, do you really want a police department run by a police union or a chief that has no budgetary experience or no policy-making experience or no experience managing large critical operations, or no experience in supervising more than 10 people, no experience presenting agenda reports, and he can't even follow the rules at the Art and Wine Festival for the candidates booth. I mean, I hope instead you want someone who has dedicated his entire life to the city of Santa Clara and has a track record of proven leadership with 12 years of management experience, 4 years of which have been the police chief. I supervise approximately 230 employees, like I mentioned earlier, and I manage a $64 million budget. I implemented programs to build transparency and trust in the community. Started with programs Chat with the Chief, added social media, enhanced our website, increased the number of students in our Citizen Police Academy and our volunteer program. I've continued important programs such as DARE, PAL, and have worked closely with our seniors. So I hope that you appreciate the loyalty and dedication that I've provided, and I encourage you to vote for me in November. If you get an opportunity, please visit my website at www.reelectchiefsellers.com, and thank you.
Thank you both very much. A couple of things. One is thank you for very largely staying inside the 2 minutes. That made it very helpful in terms of our evening. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please thank these two gentlemen for being here this evening? Ladies and gentlemen, we will take about a 5 or so minute break here, and we will set things up for the city clerk candidates. Thank you. We have seated them in the order in which they appear on the ballot from left to right. And we will begin this evening in terms of the clerk candidates by having opening statements in the ballot order and closing statements in the reverse ballot order. As we did with the chief of police, we will alternate in terms of the questions with regard to who goes first, so that there is equal opportunity here to answer first or second if you happen to like that. We will begin with 2-minute opening statements, and we will begin with Mr. Diridon. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Keeley. And welcome, everyone. My name is Rod Diridon. I'm your city clerk and your partner in democracy. Thank you very much for allowing me to serve as your city clerk. Let me share with you a little bit by way of background. I grew up here in Santa Clara, and I care deeply about our community, our heritage, and our future. My focus for the team in the city clerk's office, and anything we do in city government is done in a team, is that we enhance transparency, fairness, and accountability, value and respect our community, work hard and smart for Santa Clara. I was raised here in our town. I attended local schools, went to Santa Clara High School, on to San Jose State for an undergraduate degree in political science, and then I returned very recently and earned a master's degree in public administration, summa cum laude with a 4.0 GPA. I'm a certified municipal clerk and a master certified municipal clerk. Professionally, let me share that I started working at 13 in a body shop. I worked my way through college as a mechanic, so I know what it's like to work hard. Let me share that following college, I went to work and ended up as a global high-tech program manager, and then the general manager of a regional startup. So I know what business enterprises are and what it takes to make those successful. I then served in a number of civic roles, and those are wide-ranging, from the Library Board of Trustees to being a city council member, where I founded our Campaign Finance Reform Committee and served on our Early Ethics Ordinance Committee, to being the chair of a school bond measure in the mid-90s, the chair of the San Tomas Aquino Creek Trail, and the vice president of the Friends of the Santa Clara Soccer Park over the years. I live here in Santa Clara, near the university. I'm married with 4.5-year-old gorgeous boy-girl twins, as my wife is as well. And every day I have the goal that all of our kids, and of course all of us, will have an even better Santa Clara to live, work, and play in. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bress, good evening.
Good evening. Number one, thank you all for coming this evening. My name is Deborah Bress, and I would like to be your next city clerk here in the city of Santa Clara. I could rattle off a whole bunch of things about what I've done, but that's not what this is about for me. This is about community. I've been a part of this community for decades, and I've witnessed this community come together when we've had a disaster. And I was proud to see what we did then. And I'd like to see this community come together again like that. But I'd like to see us come together without the disaster. I'd like to see us come together and work together. And right now, I want to do that as your city clerk by providing you with the information you need to become part of this city and this city government. It's your city. Right now, you don't get the information you need out of the city clerk's office and the city staff and your city council in a timely manner, so that you get to be involved in the decisions that impact your life, your livelihood, and your investment in your city. I want to change that. I want you to be involved in decisions and information. For example, when the Apple spaceship or campus, whatever you want to call it, when that EAR came into this city, it was never circulated. If you were part Inspector Clouseau, you probably could find it somewhere on a website where it's worse than an Easter egg hunt. I want to be part of changing that. The city clerk has responsibility for storing and keeping all of our information, if you can find it. I don't want to make that difficult. I want to make that easy. And to make that easy, you need to know what you're doing. And I want to know from you, the community, how you want to see that happen. Part of that is to involve you.
Thank you. Ms. Bress, we will begin the questions submitted in advance with you. What are the three most important responsibilities under the law for the city clerk, and how would you assure the public that you could perform them adequately?
One of those responsibilities is to be the elections officer. One of the things that should have been done this particular election that wasn't done as completely as it could have been, we have 4 measures that are on the ballot. None of them have any arguments against them or anything other than a single statement. Those should have gone out to have people comment on them other than one statement. I would have made sure to find people that had an argument against or an argument for and against. That wasn't done. So I would make sure that that responsibility was done differently. In other words, is the records retention. That is something that you can't even find what our record retention policy is on our web. Try searching for it. You'd have to put in a public records request to find what the records retention policy is. That's not the way you should have to get information. Another responsibility that the current city clerk has is auditing. That's something else that's not done. We just had a grand jury have to do part of that. I don't think we should have to have a grand jury do our auditing. We should be doing that ourselves and in a better fashion. And there's other responsibilities too. Santa Clara is changing. It's time we change with it, and sometimes you need new people that are ready to take on that changes.
Thank you, Ms. Bress. Let me apologize to both candidates and the public. I forgot to hit the button to get the clock running there, but you were well in the time. Thank you for that. Mr. Diridon, let me repeat the question. What are the three most important responsibilities under the law for the city clerk, and how would you assure the public that you could perform them adequately?
Those 3 roles are, first, the elections official, next, posting and managing the agenda process for the public, and next, acting as an ombudsman for the public as they outreach to the city and allowing them to have their needs met. Let me cover those one at a time. First, with regards to elections, the City of Santa Clara is a multiple award-winning program with regards to community and voter outreach. We have done more, in fact, than any other city I know of our size in the state with regards to voter and community outreach. We are a multiple award-winning city, and our record there is very patent. With regards to outreach for the current measures, let me share with you that those were posted online, those were announced in city council meetings, and those were also made available to the city, to the public via paper in the city clerk's office. In fact, a guide was posted online to allow people the opportunity to be able to present arguments. They chose not to. Outreaching specifically to make sure that somebody does post an argument will be a breach of the city clerk's code of ethics and values, which requires you to be unbiased. It's the community's opportunity to provide arguments pro or con and to be involved, not the city clerk's obligation or even their right to drive that other than providing access to the information. That would be against the code of ethics of the city clerk profession. With regards to the city auditor's role that she had mentioned, I'll point out that the city auditor for the city and the stadium authority auditor are separate functions and separate people. They are distinctly different and should not be combined here, as you may be misled to believe through the course of this discussion. And finally, let me say that, remind you that when you call City Hall, you may very well have the phone picked up by the city clerk's office. We try very hard to make sure that if you have a need, it's met, not just a transferred call, but that we make sure that we're actually going to get you to the resources that you need to be successful in whatever your query is.
Thank you. Mr. Diridon, we will begin with you on this question. How would you increase voter registration and voter participation in municipal elections in the city of Santa Clara?
Well, let me share with you first that this is something near and dear to my heart. We've worked on this for years. please go to the city's website and look at the Democracy Santa Clara program that deals not just with voter registration, but also with neighborhood engagement, citizenship engagement for our new residents. Realize that 49.6% of the people in Santa Clara were actually born in another country, so helping folks to reach that American dream of citizenship is important, and it's necessary as a pre-qualification to be able to register to vote. Following that, we do voter registration, and we've done this in utility bill inserts, direct mail, in outreach through social media, in partnerships with our school districts, and in general outreach to community service organizations and clubs. Extremely robust outreach. How I would like to increase that, though, is specifically with regards to school partnerships, in that we currently have very good partnerships with the civics departments at Santa Clara High School and Bookshire Junior High School, with regards to Valley High, Wilson Adult Education, and with Mission College. Would love to be able to outreach to the Cupertino Unified School District as well if they have a desire to, noting that they don't have a high school that's actually in Santa Clara, but they do serve Santa Clara students. I would also love to see if there are just more robust ways to partner with our parent-teachers associations and the school site councils so that kids can bring information home to parents to help them register to vote. Beyond that, once you're registered, it's important for people to get involved with the city. And I'll share with you that we have robust board and commission recruitment programs. We've in fact increased board and commission applicants from 1.8 applicant per opening a few years ago to now 4.6 applicants per opening. That is an entree to service at a higher level in the city. If you have any desire to serve your city, please first register to vote. After that, look at the city clerk's website at upcoming openings and please apply for a board and commission. This is your city, and that's how you enfranchise yourself, not just in the day-to-day showing up at a council meeting, but in having some policy purview.
Thank you. Ms. Bress, I'll be glad to repeat the question. How would you increase voter participation and registration in municipal elections in the city of Santa Clara?
It's a tough thing to do. And in Santa Clara, in talking to voters, you've just heard a lot of speeds and feeds come out of the incumbent. And I know that he's spent a whole lot of money and has a whole lot of awards and a whole lot of things to point to and awards on plaques on the wall. The fact of the matter is, people vote when they want to vote and they feel like their voice is heard. Right now in Santa Clara, it seems like the people who are here belong to cliques, and that's how you get on boards and commissions. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and that seems to be how you get onto boards and commissions very often. The way to get more involvement maybe is to have people that are on the outside allowed to become onto the inside. So I think at many times we spend a whole lot of public money playing the shell game of pretending like we're getting more voters, when in fact we're not. And if you look at the real numbers of how much we've increased voter participation, the answer is we have not. And I have looked at the numbers that's been presented by the incumbent, and when you really look at the numbers in totality, the answer is the programs are failed. The last time you presented the numbers are kind of like, statistics are like a bikini, they cover the important parts. When you look at the numbers that were presented, the numbers were minuscule in comparison to how much money we were spent. And I would say that that money could be much better spent doing other things in Santa Clara that would have a higher impact for the community. So sometimes I think you need to take your knocks and your hits and say that doesn't work. So for increasing democracy outreach, I think we ought to look at partnering in other directions totally. And I think the programs we've been spending money, at some point you have to stop spending good money after bad. And that's one of the programs I think I'd take a real serious look at and figure out it's about time we stop putting money down that rat hole.
Thank you. We'll now move to those questions that were submitted this evening at the forum. And Ms. Bress, we will begin with you. What is your vision for the city clerk's office over the next 4 years?
That's a wonderful question. There's a lot of things we can do better. One of the things I want to do is involve the public. Right now, our public is not being involved in City Hall. There's too many people on city staff and at different levels in the city that seem to forget that this is their city. And I think too many times the public is not treated as well as they should be. They should be welcomed. They should not be told to stand outside of the office. They should be welcomed into the office. I want to establish some focus groups to say, this is what we'd like to do. What would you, the public, like to see? I would like to ask the public, do you think we need a democracy program? Do we need more voters? What do you think would work? Instead of us creating programs thinking they need it, how about if instead of us guessing, we just ask? I think too many times you have people who create programs that we'd like to have when nobody else wants them. If you don't want a cup holder upside down, why did you put one in? Too many times the engineer might be designing something that the end user didn't want. So I want to go directly to the end user and ask them what they need. I have had experiences with City Hall where trying to get information out of City Hall is like pulling teeth. I want to make it easier to get information. I want to be your advocate. I want to be that ombudsman that gets the information for you in a timely manner, that uses the least amount of time, not takes the time because it's available.
Thank you. Mr. Diridon, what is your vision for the city clerk's office for the next 4 years?
My vision is, first and foremost, to continue to be your partner in democracy, wherever that calls. To continue to foster government at its best, and that takes a couple of, let me give you a couple of tangibles. The city has an aging agenda management system, and I'm a city clerk, so I realize that that sounds boring to you, but we're geeks inherently. So when you look at an agenda management system, what it means is that you can get access to information in a manner that is easier for you to assess, more robust with regards to the bandwidth that you can view it in, more timely. It streamlines processes internally for the city clerk's office and for the city in general to save staff time and dollars, and in general increases the efficiency of government. Focusing on the Democracy Santa Clara program, which was vetted with the public through numerous goal-setting sessions with the council, at city council meetings, at ethics committee meetings, and many, many times. And we, in fact, did engage more than 50 community organizations and members of the public directly with regards to getting feedback on how to make that program better in the last few years. And we continue to do the same. But let me talk about looking at the next steps for the clerk's office. Our profession is at a transition point where the folks who traditionally have been clerical are retiring, and now folks who are professional and pseudo-legal in nature are city clerks. It's an exciting time for our profession to look at government at its best. And I would want to meet with the public similar to the way that we met with them with regards to the Democracy Santa Clara program, to be able to get their feedback with regards to what they see as the future of their city clerk's office, as their ombudsman, as their partner in democracy, and as the person who independently in the city charter reports to them, not to the city manager, not to the city council, not to anybody, but to the public. That's a role that I've always taken very seriously. I've honored your trust, worked hard and smart, and will continue to do so.
Thank you. We will begin the next question submitted this evening with Mr. Diridon. What is your current job or professional history that is relevant to the position of city clerk?
Well, I am the city clerk. So I guess that's somewhat relevant. And I've served in that role for 12 years, and we've had great success. Let me remind folks that when I took over as city clerk, we didn't have online meetings streamed, and that's something that we've done since then. The planning commissions weren't streamed as well, and that's something that we've done more recently. We've got a lobbyist ordinance and an opening calendar ordinance, which we've implemented recently. Some of these policies are either directed by, globally, either proposed by the city clerk's office, or in many cases proposed by the community and by the city council, giving them their due, that we've simply implemented in a manner that's fair, equitable, and robust. Let me talk about the prior history, though. I served on the city council for 8 years, and during that time I founded our Campaign Finance Reform Act and our ethics ordinance, and I self-limited my campaign fundraising to $500 per source then. That led to what you see now as what is campaign finance reform in Santa Clara. Voluntary expenditure limits, expenditure limits on how much people can donate to campaigns. And then all that's come from that, the vote ethics program, which is now the Democracy Santa Clara program, that is one of the reasons why you're here tonight. in this forum able to have this debate with us. And debate is fantastic. I love debates. And in that sick sort of way, as a democracy consultant, I'm glad that I have an opponent so that we can talk about these fantastic things. And then, of course, as a professional, also a certified municipal clerk status, a master in political and public administration. And that's important and relevant because if you're going to sit as a full-time department head around a table with other department heads who also have master's degrees and the highest certification in their field, it's important that as one of their peers, you also have that type of certification so that you can be effective in being the best advocate that you can for the public in your job.
Ms. Bress, what is your current job and what in your professional history is relevant to the position of city clerk?
My current job is I'm a project manager for a very wealthy and established private entity. I do forensic accounting. What that entails is looking at projects and figuring out, follow the money, I guess is the best way to do it. Sort of like what's happening right now with the Stadium Authority. Sort of what hasn't happened in our city and the auditing role that should be happening through the clerk's office in his auditing role right now. That probably would have kept us out of some trouble with the grand jury and some of the auditing that's not happening. The auditing that should happen in the clerk's office shouldn't be just signing up the check register saying, yep, we're going to pay the bills. I do the forensic accounting on a regular basis. I have had P&L responsibility at several companies. I was part of a, excuse me, a little project called Special Projects that was for a fruit company called Apple Computer. I was part of the original design and introduction team for the Macintosh, so I know how to make order out of chaos and keep chaos out of the order. I was the 33rd person in that division, and I worked with a somewhat of a difficult person by the name of Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and some of the other people that you know in this valley. So I've worked with some real movers and shakers that had some pretty high demands and was accountable for a lot of big projects and a lot of money. So I know how to kind of squeeze things and how to be really accountable to get some miraculous things done in some unbelievable timetables. One of the responsibilities that just started in the clerk's office is calendaring. What's happening right now is being done at a minimum, and I would do that in a much more consistent way and much more thorough way. And the lobbying registration that's being done is being done poorly, so that's something I would do well and regularly. And both of those things were something that was actually resisted by the current city clerk and something he fought against.
Thank you. Ms. Bress, we'll begin this question with you. This is again a question submitted this evening. What have you done for the city to increase transparency and to involve the community?
Wow, that's just about every council meeting. I have been very active in my community every single council meeting. I have stood up in front of the council asking for very detailed information. I have done a lot of research. I have a very good memory in looking for details, remembering details, asking very pointed questions. I'm not afraid of asking the questions, making a mistake, admitting to a mistake, and turning over whatever information needs to be turned over to find the right answers. I've also been involved in areas that I don't live in, and it's not just during election season, it's any time. I'm out in my community. I'm working right now to get a signal light installed by a school. I don't have children. I have one kid. It's a four-legged little dog, and I call her my kid. But for me, it's important to be involved in your community, even if it's not something that's impactful to myself. I've been involved with the north side, and again, I don't live on the north side. So I've been very much open with that. I've been involved with, when the whole thing with the stadium was going through, I stood in front of this council and I said, I don't think you've read this agreement. And I read the agreement, the whole thing. And from what's happened since then, I don't think they ever read the agreement. And I had read the agreement. And I knew that we were going to be in trouble, and we are in trouble. And it's the first time I ever saw an agreement where you got to take the excess off your rent, and I still can't believe they signed it. So I have asked for more visibility into what's going on and more accountability, and there have been decisions made by the former council and the current council and the council before that, that I pointed out things that they made some uninformed decisions and tried to open the public's eyes to those many times.
Thank you, Ms. Bress. I'll repeat the question, Mr. Diridon. What have you done for the city to increase transparency and involve the community?
Well, first, you can go online and get any multitude of resources that you were never able to get before. I'm a city clerk, I'm sorry. I noticed when the clock's not running. Thank you.
I'm not the city clerk, and many people have pointed this out to me. Thank you.
You can go online and get campaign finance reform forms to see where people have fundraised. You can get lists of folks who have made independent expenditures in our town. You can get the ballot statements, which are now posted online. And in fact, the city clerk's office posts translated information with regards to those ballot statements, and goes out and gets additional languages translated, even if they aren't mandatory, on behalf of the registrar's office. We have, of course, post the lobbyist registry list online. You have the open calendars that are now posted by virtue of something that our office has helped coordinate. And there is more and more and more robust information that we have posted online, and that's available in the clerk's office. And please don't be misled. There is more information online and available in the clerk's office now than there ever has been in the history of the city of Santa Clara. We can always find more, and we will always find more. But let me point out something that was fairly shocking. Ms. Bress has mentioned that she spoke at numerous city council meetings, and she has in fact spoken more than 100 times in the last year. That's highly inappropriate as a city clerk. As a city clerk, it is your obligation to be unbiased with regards to policies other than those that are directly under your office's purview. In fact, it's against the city clerk's code of ethics and values to do so. So while Ms. Bress may lead you to believe that that is a good thing, and in fact is a good thing if you're a candidate for city council or mayor or a policy office, and to that I commend her for being an active member of the community and showing up and being involved, it is highly inappropriate as a city clerk. In fact, you'll note that I haven't taken a position with regards to a policy other than those specific to my office, nor have I endorsed a candidate over which my office has purview, so city council candidates, since I was the city clerk, and since, in fact, I was seeking office as city clerk. I would ask that she hold herself to the same standard.
Thank you. We have now arrived at the moment for closing statements. We will begin with Ms. Bress. These are 2 minutes, as have been the other responses. Ms. Bress.
Just to clarify, the question was, what have I done? It has nothing to do with what I would do as city clerk. And I have not taken money from a lobbyist, which Mr. Diridon has in his current 460 form, and to take a lot of money from people outside of the area I find to be not exactly ethical. But I'll go with my closing statement. Thank you so much again for coming this evening. I have been involved with my community. I want to do more for my community. There's a lot of room for improvement. I am not fighting against the improvements that have been asked for. What's been done by the current city clerk, and some of those improvements have been done in a minimum way to check it off the list. I won't just check it off the list. I want to make sure what's done is done well and done in your best interest. I want to have you in, again, not to just check it off the list. I am sincerely wanting the public to be part of what happens in this city. I'm sure many of you, and in talking to you, you really don't even know what the city clerk's office does. I want to change that. The other thing I recognize wholeheartedly is many people in our city are not on the web. There's been a lot of bragging going on about how many less pages are printed. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, because there's a lot of people in our city that do not have access to a computer. We need to fix that. We need to figure out a way to have people who don't have a computer still be part of our community. A community doesn't always just have a computer. We have a very diverse group of people. I want to meet the needs of everyone. I am a very strong, outspoken woman. I'm someone that wants to meet the needs of everyone. It's time for a change. I want to be that change. We need to have some new blood in City Hall. We're going through a lot of changes. Santa Clara looks different. It's time for something different there, too. Let's start with the city clerk's office. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to having your vote.
Thank you, Ms. Bress. Mr. Diridon.
Thank you. First, let me say that it has been an honor to serve as your city clerk and to be your partner in democracy. I absolutely love this town, and it is fantastic every day to be able to work with the fantastic team here at City Hall and in the clerk's office and with the community to continue to make our community even better than it is today. As candidates, folks sometimes forget that it is not about them. It's not about us. It's about you. It is your city charter. It is your delegation of that small portion of your sovereignty that we all hold so dearly when you choose what city charter you're going to support and which candidates you're going to elect. I'll honor our city charter, both the obligations of the office and the limitations of the office, because that's what you have delegated that portion of your sovereignty, and I'll continue to foster government at its best. Let me point out that we received the International Clerks Association Program Excellence in Governance Award, the highest programmatic honor in the profession, 3 times. Nobody else has received it more than once. So when it comes to an unbiased third party that's going to look at excellence in governance, please don't believe me, don't believe her, believe the International Clerks Association that what we're doing here is pretty fantastic and pretty exceptional on your behalf. And finally, let me say that please don't get caught up in the chaff and inflammatory rhetoric meant to distract you from what's important. We've done exceptional work here in Santa Clara. In fact, look at our website. We've registered 70 lobbyists within 3 months, the first quarter. We do absolutely fantastic work. Nothing is minimal. Everything is as well as we can possibly do it every day because that's what we do. And please consider very carefully who you choose to delegate that small portion of your sovereignty to and who has the temperament, experience, education, certification, and history to be able to know that they are going to shepherd your sovereignty and your tax dollars effectively to keep Santa Clara the great place it is today. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Diridon. Ms. Bress, Mr. Diridon, thank you so much. Would you please thank these folks for their appearance here this evening? Thank you. What we will do now is take about a 5-minute or so break, and we will then have the candidates for council seat number 4. If you are a candidate for council seat number 4, if you would come up here, I need to talk to you all for 1 minute before we begin. In 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good to see you, Debbie. As always. Great.
There's like 10,000 people watching. Actually, it's much easier to know that they're online. They're on.
I was Speaker Pro Tem of the Assembly. The job was, the official job is to preside.
Yes.
The unofficial job is whatever the Speaker says it is. So the most fun of being Speaker Pro Tem is our equivalent of this was this 80 members of the Assembly and all that stuff, their lights would light up and all the rest of it. But the beauty part was the Speaker Pro Tem gets to press. You get to cast 2 votes on every item. Yeah. It's not as if you had independents.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Right, right.
Speaker made sure he said, here's
Yeah.
how you're voting. Vote me this way.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Oh, I bet you had a great career. We are. But it's public service. No, it is. It's public service. Yeah, and you know what I really like? Is when I drive around town and I see something that says, you know,
To bring me here?
versus all those other projects.
Well, that's what I like about that's what I like about working in public works is like I can go to a park and somebody will say, I built that bench. I installed that table. Yeah, yeah, it truly is. Yeah.
It's exactly how you want to feel about it, right?
It's done. They did fast.
Yep.
You didn't go home?
Are these mics on or do they?
Yeah, with the green light,
Green.
and then you probably want to
Had some.
put you on a
Or talk.
No, just leave it. They're not that sensitive,
Oh, okay, so
but they
sit
won't
back. Okay.
catch it.
Thank you.
They can submit it to me as we're going along. So people can submit as they're going along. They can submit it to me. I will have it. Are you good? Okay. You're going to submit it to me? Okay, just hand. They have questions. Are you good to go?
Good to go.
Good to go? Mm-hmm. Good to go? Good to go? Everybody good? When should I hand you the questions? Anytime? Sure. Yeah. Yeah, fine. Absolutely. You can do it during any time during this.
So we can formulate question too? Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. We are now going to be running through the, I will see if I can demonstrate my proficiency at any of this. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We are back from our break. We are now going to, as part of the Santa Clara Votes program, we are going to hear from all of the council candidates for council seat number 4. Tomorrow evening, we will hear from the candidates for the other 3 seats that are up for election in this election cycle. Then next Thursday, we will hear again from police chief candidates, city clerk candidates, and council seat number 4. And a week from Friday, we will then hear, so we will have next Thursday night, next Friday night, we will hear again from the 3 all of the candidates for the other 3 council seats. So we have 2 forums this week, tonight and tomorrow. Next week we'll have 2 more forums. Those will be on Thursday and Friday night. Same format. If folks are interested in submitting questions in advance, they should go to SC Votes, santaclaraca.gov, and you can submit a question online. You can go to the city's website, and on the city website, go to Government. When you go to Government, you'll find Santa Clara Votes. Go there, and there are a series of prompts at that point where you can get information regarding these forums. You can get information about how to submit a question, and you can get information about how to register to vote as well. So we will now begin with council seat number 4. The council candidates are seated from your left to your right in the same order that they will appear on the November ballot. And we will start with opening statements, and as we have with Chief of Police and with the City Clerk, we will have 2 minutes for each of you to make your opening statements. Then we will start with questions that have been submitted in advance, of which there will be 2. Then there will be questions that have been submitted tonight, and we will take as many questions as we have time for this evening. All of this, and then the closing statements, are 2-minute responses. We will start with Mr. Silva and work our way down, and then on the close, we will begin with Mr. Bracamonte, and we will move the other way. When we answer the questions, we'll start on the first question. Will be with Mr. Bracamonte. We'll go this way, then I'll start in the middle and go out. We'll do it just like you saw the other candidates, but there's more of you, so it'll be a little more fluid than that. So with that, we will begin with opening statements. Mr. Silva, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening. I know it's late, probably later than it should be for a debate, but hopefully we'll get through this in a timely manner. I've been a resident of Santa Clara for 46 years and have been a big part of the community. One of the reasons, and the main reason that I'm running for city council, is because I think the ship is definitely going in the wrong direction in a number of areas. I'm very concerned, especially over the last 4 years, of the direction that the city is headed in. One of my goals is to return transparency, honesty, and ethics to this council. We have to move forward, and we have to move forward in a transparent and an honest manner where we conduct business in front of you, not behind you. We have a bad history of doing business behind closed doors, and that has to change. You deserve more than backdoor deals. Second, the development of Santa Clara is also very troubling in that the Association of Bay Area Governments said that between 2014 and 2022, Santa Clara should build 4,093 units to accommodate the growth over that 8-year period. According to the Santa Clara Weekly today, we've already have either in progress or have completed 6,600 of those units. So we're already well over our quota, and we're only 2 years into the study. There's 11,000 more units that are being proposed. And the question is, do you want your city to be run by big government? Do you want these in your backyard? Or do you want to have a council that's going to stand up and say, quite frankly, that's great we have 11,000, but we're turning this ship into another direction where the infrastructure is going to be put first, and it's going to be put first before high-rise and high-density condominiums. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chahal.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Dear Santa Clarans, as a Santa Clara resident for last 21 years, I am blessed to have raised a family, started a business in Santa Clara, and given back to the community. It has been a great ride and a privilege to serve you on Planning Commission, Architecture Review Committee, Mission City Community Fund, and Library Foundation. As a Boy Scout Scoutmaster and as a president of Santa Clara Sister Cities Association, I have helped students develop leadership skills and become globally minded citizens. My wife teaches at Wilson Preschool, and I have two boys, both Eagle Scouts, one going to Santa Clara University, other one to Dartmouth. I did my master's in physics and MBA in finance and marketing. As mentioned by Mr. Tino, we are facing the high density housing issue. There are multiple reasons other than that why I am running for the council. I'll bring back the residents' voice on the council. As a planning commissioner, I have constantly fought and for the residents against the inappropriate high-density housing. I have stood up to protect our existing neighborhoods. For example, Mission Town project next to SCU, I voted against it. Too dense. 1890 El Camino, right next to Clay Street. Too dense, 58 units, 1.5 acres. I voted against it. I voted against the Newhall and Saratoga townhomes. Too dense. I voted against it. I've not only done it, I have proved it. I'm doing time and again. This high density housing has to be at an appropriate place, not in appropriate places. Moonlight, I was one of the two planning commissioners who opposed that. I don't want that to happen the way they want to happen. One of my goals will be to engage the community, involve the community in the decision-making process. With residents first approach, I will inform, consult, and involve our residents. I will make sure that our residents get the best quality of service with full transparency. For me, raising happiness index is more important than capitalistic numbers. I believe in smart, balanced, and controlled growth, which is harmonious with our existing neighborhoods. I would honor to get your vote.
Mr. Chahal, we're fair part beyond 2 minutes, so if you could wrap, that would be good. Thank you.
Okay. To know more about me, please visit rajforsantaclara.com. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Mahan.
Thank you. Some people will say that Santa Clara is at a crossroads. I think Santa Clara was misdirected to an off-ramp and needs to find its way back to Main Street, to return to the Santa Clara way, with its hometown values, its big city budget, but its small town spirit and warmth. Santa Clara is a progressive city, but we won't stand still. Santa Clara is a diverse city that welcomes all. Santa Clara is an historic city, one of the first charters granted in our state, with roots in this valley that go back thousands of years. Throughout this campaign, I've been listening to Santa Clarans, and I've heard their concerns: traffic and the need to reduce congestion, our infrastructure, our streets, parks, water system, and the need to improve them all, our human resources, our workers, and the need to restore higher levels of city services, development, too much, too fast, and the need to ensure balanced and sustainable growth, the need to plan Santa Clara's future wisely and together. When I left Santa Clara City Council 2 years ago, I could have run for my seat again. I chose not to, because frankly, with the city management at the time, effective representation had become difficult. As things turned out, it was a good thing. Instead of serving our city, I spent the last 2 years fighting cancer, breast cancer, for the second time, a battle which finally I have won. This is Jerry Marcelli's seat, and he's fighting the same battle as I. He chose not to run for re-election, to concentrate on his own health. I decided to run for his seat only after discussing it with Jerry and receiving his blessing. Like me, he feels that Santa Clara needs someone to fill this seat who will bring experience and leadership to the City Council. I believe I am that candidate, and I trust that you will too.
Thank you, Ms. Mahan. Mr. Bracamonte, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Mark Bracamonte, and I'm up here because it's about time someone from my generation stands up here for all generations. It is time we all have a voice, which is free from special interests. And it is time for that voice to be heard. So I stand here, or sit here, at 22, to give you that voice. I am asking for the chance to prove myself to you, to all of you, that I will set a new standard of what a council member should stand for and live by. And that is the truth. And that truth is that council works for you. Look around the room tonight. Look at all the young faces. I'm mainly talking about my mother and my grandmother. But that is just the beginning of the youth involvement I'll bring. If you want change, if you want something different, here I am.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bracamonte, we will begin with you in terms of the questions. These are two questions that I have consolidated because several came in advance of tonight's meeting. I've tried to consolidate them into these two questions. Then other questions have been submitted while we've been here this evening, and I want to let audience members know you can continue to submit those to me as we move along. Mr. Bracamonte, the first question is, land use development is a significant topic in Santa Clara. Many voters have inquired about whether or not development is producing the amount of revenue to the city's general fund that it was projected to contribute when the development proposals were before the City Council. Do you believe that the city is a net beneficiary of general fund revenue from the approved development in the city during the past several years?
Well, I'll be honest, I really don't know the numbers. It's something I'm going to have to look more into. But as far as development in the city goes, I know me as not a politician or a professional of anything. I'm a resident, and I don't see any of these developments that are occurring making any sense in the city. As far as revenue goes, if we're having issues paying our police and paying other city services, then I guess those revenues aren't enough. And if in the proposal we're getting these numbers and they're not enough to cover city services, well, then we have problems with our policies. And so I think that would go back to our policies that we needed to revise. And so I think the issue is a lot bigger than the proposed revenue from the developers.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Mahan, I'd be glad to repeat the question if you would like me to.
Yes, please.
Okay. Land use development is a significant topic in Santa Clara. Many voters have inquired about whether or not development is producing the amount of revenue to the city's general fund that was projected when the development proposals were before the City Council. Do you believe that the city is a net beneficiary of general fund revenue from the approved developments in the city during the last several years?
There's actually many components to that question, so the answer will have different components. To begin with, Santa Clara is an enterprising city. We use our city land to generate revenues to our general fund, and we have done successfully that for many, many years, for decades. We had net revenues to our general fund of over $13 million a year when I left the City Council. It came from Great America Theme Park, the Hilton Hotel, the Hyatt Hotel and the Convention Center, the Interland development north of Bayshore. All of these brought in millions of dollars to our city, which we could use for our general fund and city services. We lost a great deal of that money when the governor abolished our redevelopment agencies and disbanded our redevelopment agencies. That has hurt the city, and yes, we have looked for other means to replace that general fund income from enterprises, not from taxes, from entrepreneurial enterprises, from the use of our city land, from leases. Unfortunately, a lot of that was taken away when we lost redevelopment agencies because we lost the ability to have that general fund money coming back into us. Levi Stadium has replaced some of it. 2.5 to $3 million a year comes from the operation of the stadium. Again, the stadium is on city land. We get lease revenues, and we get a share of the gross receipts from the events, NFL and other events at the stadium. So that has been a money-making enterprise for our city. Housing does not bring money to our city. All of the development of the housing is a cost center. We have to serve that housing and the population who lives there. So those become cost centers, not revenue generators. So we still have a lot of city land. The golf course is a major asset, which is now under some contractual arrangement with the related companies. We need to make that land pay for us.
Thank you, Ms. Mahan. Mr. Chahal, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
Yes, sir. Land use development is a significant topic in Santa Clara. Many voters have inquired about whether or not development is producing the amount of revenue to the city's general fund that was projected when the development proposals were before the city council. Do you believe that the city is a net beneficiary of general fund revenue from the approved development in the city during the past several years?
Thank you for the question. So there are two aspects of this. City has gained some revenue from these land use changes or the big developments. Like in 14-15, we issued a permit for around $890 million for buildings. In 15-16, we are going to issue $1.4 billion of development licenses. So since 2012, we lost the RDA money, which was close to the extent of $13 million. But we have since then recouped all our deficit, what we lost the money. But my question is, as far as the mission of the city, the mission statement of the city says, promote a living and working environment that allows for the best quality of life by serving the community with a resourceful, efficient, professional leadership, progressive leadership. Look at the related project. We are not doing the proper financial studies. Look at the related project. The fiscal benefit study for related project was submitted at the last moment, just a month before the planning commission meeting. I was the only person who analyzed that study. And after analysis, I came up with an option. If we could have saved 110 acres of that land, we still could have made 89% of the general fund money. And that is, instead of 20.01 million, we still could have made 17.83 million. You know what? We made a wrong decision in giving up our major land. Land is the only resource which we do not have infinite. We only have a finite land resources. So whenever we are making these financial decisions, make sure we are making these for the long term. I would never have made that decision. I would have made sure that we save 110 acres and still make some general fund revenue for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Chahal. Mr. Silva, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
Yes, sir. Land use development let me begin again. Land use development is a significant topic in Santa Clara. Many voters have inquired about whether or not development is producing the amount of revenue to the city's general fund that was projected when the development proposals were before the city council. Do you believe that the city is a net beneficiary of general fund revenue from the approved development in the city during the past several years?
So that's a great question. The truth is, we don't know yet. We have so much development that is going on, as Patty said, the housing doesn't really contribute to the general fund. So my question is, why have we expedited all this housing, and what is the current need and the current rush to continue to develop and develop and develop? If it's not putting money into the general fund and it's actually costing us money, that's a question that I think we should all spend a little bit more time talking about. I think the white elephant in the room is Levi Stadium. And the truth of the matter is, if you've tried to read the audits, I don't think anybody really knows how much money it's made. I think the first year it made $2.8 million because of seat licenses. I could be wrong, but the truth is, my understanding is that we haven't made a whole lot of money. The question is, what if we were to have developed where Levi Stadium is, and what if we were to have put businesses out there? How much money would we have actually generated? And how much money are we generating from Levi Stadium? And that's really the question. And unfortunately, we still don't have answers because we have an ongoing investigation, an ongoing audit, because not even our own city council really understands the contracts that were signed, 3, 4 years ago. It's bothersome to me when we look at the general plan and we look at all of the development that has gone on, and yet the question that nobody has answered to me is, as Raj said, we lost $13 to $14 million in RDA money. The question is, how much money have we made since we've approved all of this development? And the answer is, I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't know that the council knows. So if we don't have the answer to that question, why would we even consider developing another 11,000 units of housing without figuring out how much money do we actually are we making, and how much did we actually have to make up from the loss of RDA money?
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Mr. Silva, you will begin with the answer to this question, and we're going to essentially stay in the same vein as the previous question. Do you believe that the city is currently in balance with regard to jobs and housing? Based on your answer, what kind of development should the city be approving for the next several years? Mr. Silva.
Thank you. Is there an imbalance? That's a good question. We have I think the Santa Clara Weekly said we had 140,000 jobs or something, and we had 40,000 units, or plus or minus, and my numbers may be wrong. Going forward, the question really is, are we going to put housing to meet a demand before the quality of life of our residents? Are we going to continue to put high-density residencies on the El Camino in people's backyards, or are we going to start to build the infrastructure back up of the city? We've lost the bowling alley, we've lost Kohl's, we've lost China Delight, we've lost, we'll eventually lose, I think it was Save Mart. So we've lost so much in the city. And yet everybody keeps trying to say we have to match, we have to have a certain number of units to keep up with the demand of jobs and so on and so forth. But I think the fundamental problem is that we've put the cart before the horse, and the pendulum has swung way too far to the right, and it seems like all we do is develop high-density residencies. The truth of the matter is we have to be more balanced. And if we have more jobs in Santa Clara than we have actually places to live, I don't think that's a bad thing, because 4 years ago we were in a great recession, and those jobs weren't here. So the fact that we have the number of jobs we have is a blessing, and part of it is because of where we're situated. If you look at us logistically, we are the center and the mecca of the Silicon Valley. So if we're going to build more houses and we're going to build more high-density residencies, which I think is inevitable, then you have to put those out where the jobs are. You don't want to put those on the El Camino. You don't want to put those in somebody's backyard. You don't want somebody to have to look at a 3-story, 58-unit condominium for the next 75 years. If you're going to build more houses to meet the job demand, then put the houses where the jobs are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Mr. Chahal, would you like me to repeat the question, sir?
Please.
Please do. Do you believe that the city is currently in balance with regard to jobs and housing? Based on your answer, what kind of development should the city be approving for the next several years?
The city is certainly in imbalance. We have 2.7 jobs per house, and which is a very high number. And people used to call Tracy as a bedroom community. Ours is a job community right now. So what that imbalance does to our community? All these jobs, people coming to our city, create traffic congestions, create pollution, and create a lot of other related issues. Our growth for last so many years has been very exponential, and we did not pay proper attention so that we make a smart, balanced growth. My idea is make a smart, balanced, and controlled growth. last 3 or 4 years, review where we have gone wrong. Do analysis, bring the numbers on the table, and then say, hey, control this thing, and let's stop this going forward. This was one of the major reasons, like the related project, San Jose sued us, because all jobs will be here and the housing community on their side. Again, imbalance of those. Now, if you ask me what type of project should we do, the mixed-use projects, take an example of Irvine project next to Bowers 101 and Scott. They have multi-million square feet of office there. They have restaurants there. They have Whole Food there. And they have built 1,800 units. Instead of 1,800 units over there, they should have built 4,000 or 5,000 units, multi-story. It's not affecting any single-family houses. It's not affecting any neighborhood which is close to that. The people from those apartments or housing could have walked to the office, came back, grocery store. They would not have maintained any cars. They don't need to maintain any cars. That's a type of development we have to think about it. All those housing projects which I as a planning commissioner have denied, those are wrong, inappropriate, high-density housing at the wrong place. Make sure we build the right place. The placement is very, very important when we're going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Mahan, would you like me to repeat the question?
No,
Okay.
I got it, thanks. And actually, that's really not the real question. The real question is the balance of jobs and housing we have good or bad for Santa Clara? If you look at our general plan use map, our zoning map, they're hanging here on the wall for those of you who are here. They're on our website for those of you who are watching at home. You can see that Santa Clara was a well-planned city. It didn't happen by accident. We had, for decades, planned the uses of our city with the industrial areas in an area that had no single-family homes, so they would not adversely impact the families who were living in Santa Clara. The city invested in the infrastructure in that north of El Camino and that north of Bayshore area purposely to attract the kinds of businesses that bring high-quality jobs to Santa Clara. These jobs, these industries, the high-tech industry, starting with Memorex in the early 70s, through Apple coming just recently, all of these high-quality industries subsidize the city services that we can provide to our residents. That's why we can afford to give the lowest utility rates in the county. That's why we can afford to build parks and libraries and do all of the city services that we need to do. We need to take a regional approach to housing. There are cities, when I sat on the County Cities Association as president and a board member, there are cities like Saratoga, Los Gatos who don't want the jobs, but want the housing. So we need to, people in Silicon Valley live in the valley as a whole, so we need to take a regional approach to this job and housing balance. We also need to look how our future generation of Santa Clarans are going to live. I'm a baby boomer, my son's a millennial, I'm an old mom, I know that. But millennials live differently than we do, and their housing needs are going to be different than ours. So we have to build appropriately in areas that are close to jobs, but not take away from our very lucrative industrial land base.
Thank you, Ms. Mahan. Mr. Bracamonte, would you like me to repeat the question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Please to do so. Do you believe that the city is currently in balance with regard to jobs and housing? Based on your answer, what kind of development should the city be approving over the next several years?
I believe we do have an imbalance in housing and jobs and entertainment. We need that balance to run a harmonized community. We need the balance of those three things. We have nothing to do in Santa Clara. I'm in the prime age of my dating, let's be honest, right? And it's embarrassing to live in a city where you can't go on a date on. It really is. And I've been told that by a few people, might be in this room.
Right?
I would propose more entertainment, because you bring entertainment, you're bringing jobs. And we can build mixed use. I'm all for that. But we have to actually follow through with it, because we're not. That the development that's going to replace the bowling alley, They just it just went to council, and Raj, thank you so much, he was opposed to it. But they just passed the council to amend the general plan and rezone it for planned development to become all residential, no commercial. That's ridiculous. We are tired of that. We need to stand up, and we need more people at that meeting. We need public input. We need to follow through with the general plan because a lot of people, a lot of hard work has been put into it, and we need to revise it like we're supposed to. We were supposed to revise it last year, and council didn't get to it. So, we really need to find that balance, and let's make Santa Clara a place I can date, please.
Thank you, sir.
Well said.
We will begin the next question, and let me explain the order because we've been going back and forth. Now we're going to start in the middle this time. Ms. Mahan, the question will be posed to you first, then Mr. Bracamonte, Mr. Silva, and Mr. Chahal. Ms. Mahan, as a candidate, what would you do to ensure there is a future for the youth, specifically jobs and housing?
And dating.
Yes.
Well, as I said, I'm the mother of a millennial, and the future generation of Santa Clarans and youth everywhere, I think, throughout our nation, lives differently than we did. As baby boomers, you know, that we were raised in a single-family home. We were expected to want to live in a single-family home. But the generation that's coming up, they live and work seamlessly. They work on the train as they're going to work, on their computers, on their laptops, on their iPads, on their iPhones. They mix work and pleasure. They mix work and living. So we have to start looking at the kinds of things that they're going to need going forward. Perhaps it's not the big single-family home. Perhaps it's not suburbia. Perhaps it's something a little more urban, something where you have a place where you can live and work. We're looking at our downtown redevelopment, and one of the ideas is to have sort of live, work, and I would add sell, live, work, sell lofts for creative persons, for artists, for web designers, for people that can work at home and sell their product at home and make their living working at home. We need to look at having integrated mass transportation systems into our future developments, providing eco-passes as part of rent, providing shared vehicles on site, providing, you know, everybody Ubers nowadays. I mean, so the need for having a car all of the time may be diminished with the upcoming generation. They may not need to own a car unless, of course, you want them, one, to impress a date. So these are the kinds of things we need to look at integrating in all of our developments as we move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Mahan. Mr. Bracamonte, would you like me to repeat the question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Please do so. As a candidate, what would you do to ensure there is a future for the youth, especially with regard to jobs and housing?
Well, first, I would get the youth on council, get them on the table. And I would revise the general plan and actually follow it to head in that direction of helping the youth, me. And I'd get them more involved. I'd listen to their needs, and I can do that. I'm very talkative with the youth. I mean, I am the youth, so I hang out with them all the time. But not just my friends. I can reach out, and actually, I want to start a career development program for the youth, kind of like Sunnyvale's NOVA program, because that program is actually where I went when I was 16. And I have now at 22 a full-time city job. You know, it's for Sunnyvale, not Santa Clara, unfortunately. But if we started at something here, we can really get them on the right track. We can mentor them. And these candidates are great mentors. They could be great mentors to the youth. We got to get them in here. We got to get them to actually talk and actually realize that they have to focus on their future. They need to get in that mindset, and candidates like these and even in other seats are great people to get that done. And I just think it's getting the youth involved on the planning and everything is what's going to is going to set a future for them in this city.
Thank you, Mr. Bracamonte. Mr. Silva, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I can assure you, you can still have a good date in Santa Clara if you just put your mind to it. And your girlfriend's probably looking at me like, no, we can't. But he's right. You know, I mean, he is 100% right. I have a 19-year-old son who goes to the University of Arizona. And when he was here over the summer, he told me point blank, and I quote, "Dad, Santa Clara sucks." And I go, "What are you talking about? You don't say that to anybody in the community. You know I'm running for council." And he says, "There's nothing to do. Like, what is there to do?" And I go, "Well, go to Santana Row, or go to Campbell, or go to Willow Glen, or go to the beach, or..." And as I was naming all these things, there was nothing really in Santa Clara for him to do. And I think that's a huge problem. And I think that comes with balance. I think that comes with a general plan. I think that comes with foresight in that, you know, if you want to raise a family, which I'll segue into the millennials, if you want to raise a family, other than playing sports, you need more amenities for your kids to go out and enjoy. You know, when my son had his birthday parties, we would go to the jungle way out in San Jose because there was nowhere in Santa Clara to even have a birthday party. So, transitioning to the millennials and housing. I fundamentally believe that most millennials, when they're young and they're dating and they're early, early in their marriage, they probably do want something like a townhome and take the train and so on and so forth. But once you bring children into the world, I fundamentally believe that changes. I think parents want a front yard. I think parents want a backyard. I think parents want to have, you know, the ability to let their kids run around in the backyard and not have to worry about them running out into the street. So yes, we do need more housing. Yes, it does address what I fundamentally believe millennials want early in their careers. But I think as you get older, I think those needs and those expectations slowly begin to change. And so while I don't have a wholehearted solution as to how I'm going to provide jobs for the millennials, I will say this, that fundamentally I think our economy, especially in the Silicon Valley, ebbs and flows. And those jobs, there's going to be times when there are prominent jobs, more jobs than we have people for, and there's going to be times where we have 5 or 6 people for one job. And that's just the valley we live in.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chahal, would you like me to repeat the question, sir?
I'm good.
Thank you.
You know, they say everything begins at home. So let me tell you, youth involvement, youth education is very important for our future. And I commend Marcus for coming here, stepping up and going for the election. It is very important. I start with my home. Like, I have been involved with scouting, Scoutmaster, already produced more than 15 Eagle Scouts. Both my boys are Eagle Scouts. I'm so proud to have good education, and one of the major reasons I want our youth to get a good education. Once you get a good education, you can fit in anywhere. So that education part is a must. But I'm not just talking about the bookish education. Our education system has to be overall total. Like my son, he's on the National Board of Sister City International, the younger one. They've done so well. All other candidates in the sister city, they have learned leadership skills. And that's how these leadership skills have to come to the youth. And once they do that, jobs, they can find the jobs for sure. Coming back to our particular reason, like jobs and housing, like, you know, Yahoo just sold their 50 acres to Lee Eco. And what I would propose there, proactively as a council member, I'll go to them. Hey, this is 50 acres land. Don't just concentrate on business only. Develop it as a mixed use. Go high density. Go multi-story, 10-story housing. The youth can stay there, work there, and don't need a car. One more proposal I was proposed to one of the realtor association. The companies like Google and Facebook, they are facing a hard time to recruit the interns. You know what? Those people have big conference rooms. You know those beds they sell they come out from the wall? Those companies should use those innovative ways. The youth, kids should work there in the daytime, open up the conference room, pull the bed, sleep in the night, and have a housing problem solved to some extent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On this question, let me give you the order on this one. Mr. Chahal, we will begin with you, then Mr. Silva, Ms. Mahan, Mr. Bracamonte. That'll be the order on this question. This question consists of 7 words, so I think I might add a couple of more words on it. You all have been speaking to policy issues, and this is a bit more personal. Tell us a bit about yourself. That was my addition. And what do you bring to the table? That was the actual question. And we will begin with Mr. Chahal.
I'm so lucky. As I mentioned earlier, I'm so lucky to have a great education. My parents gave me one of the best education. I came to this country with $500 in my pocket. But the education which I got, what was the question?
Yes, sir. Tell us a bit about yourself, and what do you bring to the table? Right.
So my education have been so great in helping me out. I'm a businessman over here, and raised my 2 kids. Now, what I bring to the table for the council, I'm an MBA in finance. Time and again, I'm seeing the financial data not being analyzed well on the council chambers. The related project, as I told you earlier, we could have saved 110 acres and still made 89% of the revenue. I bring that analytical skills. I'm a very, very independent, analytical, ethical person. So those skills, and you get for free from me. I'll bring those on this chamber, and I can educate my other colleagues on that. Other things I bring on the council are my variety of experience, like my involvement with the youth. I'm very, very heavy for the youth development for the future. I want to expand the youth programs. I want to make sure our youth have more scholarship programs. And I want to involve not only the city, not only Silicon Valley Power, which we give scholarships. I want to involve all the businesses. Like if we go to NVIDIA, if we go to Intel, start different programs for the people like Marcus. Hey, NVIDIA will give you digital scholarship. Intel will give you chip designing scholarship. I want to increase that scholarship at least tenfold in next 10 years. So those are the things I'll bring to the table. Financial skills and youth development skills. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Silva, tell us a bit about yourself and what you bring to the table.
Thank you. So I'm a 4th generation Santa Claran, and really, what does that mean? It to me means that I understood the city when it was an orchard, and I understand the city today and where it's going. And like Raj, I have both a bachelor's and master's degree, but it's more important where it's from. And at Santa Clara University, one of the things that they ingrained in us was to be the voice for those that don't have a voice, to stand up for those that may not be able to stand up for themselves. And I think over the last at least 2 or 3 years, that's certainly what I've done. When the 49ers tried to take the soccer park, I was in meetings with the 49ers, and they said, bring your little soccer people to the meeting and we'll see what happens because we have 4 votes. Well, we brought those kids to the meeting and we brought those parents. And after that meeting, the 49ers didn't take the soccer park. When we asked the city for transparency, what are you going to use the soccer park for the Super Bowl? All we were asking for was just an honest answer. They didn't give us an honest answer. So we sued them. And we sued the NFL. And to sue the most powerful marketing machine in the country, if not the world, takes courage. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I'm not afraid to stand up for what I believe. I'm not afraid to take on developers. I'm not afraid to take on the Niners. I'm not afraid to take on the NFL if it's for the right thing for the city. I'm not interested in being purchased. I'm not interested in people voting for me because I'm going to do what they want me to do. I need to do what I need to do, and for me, it's putting Santa Clara first. And I don't think we've done that for a while, but the truth of the matter is, when push comes to shove, is if I am elected to this council, the one thing you can be assured of is we'll have some spirited discussions. I'm not interested in, like I said, I'm not interested in kind of being manipulated or rubber stamping things. It's just not in my nature. So hopefully going forward, I will bring that courage back to this council to stand up to big business and such.
Thank you. Ms. Mahan, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I've got it,
Okay.
Fred, thank you. So in a very short time, if you were asking what I believe it's important that you know about me, my answer is this. My grandparents were immigrants to this valley from Italy, from Ireland, from Germany. They came from areas where they were suffering hardship. They came here for a better life. And they found it, and they taught their children to work very hard. And their children, my parents, taught their children, me and my sisters, to work very hard. The second thing to know about me that's important is I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. For 5 years, I fought this dread disease with every form of treatment you can imagine. I've been slashed, poisoned, and burned, as they say. And it was determined that I had the breast cancer mutation, the BRCA2 gene. My sisters were tested. They too suffer from this genetic mutation. And they've gone through treatment. They've joined me on this journey. It's a tough journey, but it's taught me to be strong. So I think my overriding characteristics that I would bring to this job are the ability and the willingness to work hard and a great deal of strength and personal courage, because no one should kind of have to face that kind of journey and go through it and come out unchanged. It fundamentally changes you, and it makes you a better person, and it makes you look for blessings in the face of the most severe adversity. So I think that's what else I bring to this job, was a sense of optimism, a sense of we can make things better. We can get through the worst of things and make things better.
Thank you, Ms. Mahan. Mr. Bracamonte.
All right. So during my youth, my real youth as a baby, I went through a lot of hardships. The main one being I lost my left eye to cancer. And so I really have a different perspective on life. Oh, and by the way, if you guys ever are on my left side trying to get my attention, just say my name, please. All right, so skip all that. I'm 22, and I work full-time in the Public Works Department of the City of Sunnyvale. I actually, 2 weeks ago, passed my probation, so they're stuck with me. And my educational background is I graduated from Santa Clara High in the class of 2012. And I just finished my first year at De Anza for political science. I go back Monday. And what I bring to City Council is I bring youth and something new. To my knowledge, I would be the first millennial ever elected to council. And us millennials obviously have a different view on most things. I bring the true perspective of just the average resident, because I'm not a politician. I bring a fresh breath of air, and to be honest, these kind of overly sized ears are really good at listening. So I really listen to the public, and what I'd bring, all summed up, is I'd bring a voice.
Thank you, sir. We're going to have one more question that's been submitted, and after we get the answers on this question, we will then begin our closing statements. So this is our last question submitted that we'll ask this evening. The order on this question will be Mr. Silva, Mr. Chahal, Ms. Mahan, Mr. Bracamonte, and on closing, we'll do it the reverse. So, Mr. Silva, here's the question. How do you plan on managing the Stadium Authority finances, and what relation do you have with the 49ers?
What relation do I have with the 49ers? Well, I don't think they like me very much. But the truth of the matter is that we do need to bridge that gap with the 49ers. I fundamentally think we do. They're going to be playing home games here for the next 38 years, unless they want a new stadium in 20. But nevertheless, the fundamental problem with the relationship with the 49ers right now is that we don't need somebody to run in on their white horse and say, I'm going to fix the relationship with the 49ers because it's so bad and so on and so forth. One of the reasons that the relationship with the 49ers is not where I would like it to be is because they have not been honest in their previous dealings. The problem is that they've told us in our living rooms, in our boardrooms, in the media, they have told us time and time again, we don't want the soccer park. And I said, that's fine. That's great. Thank you for that. We'll support you. They said, we'll underwrite 3 fields for you. Great, thank you, that's awesome, you know. Can we get that in writing? Sure, we'll put it in writing. And then, as soon as the council is elected, which a lot of their candidates, they backed financially, within a month they wanted the soccer park. Within a month they weren't going to build any more fields. And so the problem is, first time, shame on you. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time, shame on me. So if you want to fix the relationship with the 49ers, which I think we need to, I think the fundamental problem is that they need to come to the table with integrity and honesty. Because thus far they haven't come to the table with integrity and honesty. And once they do, I think you'll see a council that will reach out to them. I will certainly reach out to them. But previous behavior predicts future behavior, and I think that's one of the fundamental problems. The truth is, we don't need a new council member or any council members to come on board and fix the relationship with the 49ers. We don't need that. What we simply need is integrity and honesty to be put first, and then once we have that, we can move forward.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chahal, the question is, how do you plan on managing the Stadium Authority finances, and what is your relationship to the 49ers?
So, just like for any other resident, 49ers are one of the businesses in the city. I'm not taking any special interest money for my campaign, neither 49ers nor developers or nobody. But 49ers are here. We have invested $1.2 billion in the stadium. So long story short, at the end of the day, we want to make sure this thing is successful down the line. Yes, 49ers have made some mistakes, a lot of big mistakes trying to grab our soccer park. No, can't do it. You cannot get it. They already have 11 acres of the training fields for peanuts, like $22,000 a year, something like that. I may be wrong or right. So those are the things, like both 49ers and our council, our leadership, have to sit together, be more transparent, sit down on the table. Let's come to the table, discuss what are the issues, why we have so much wedge, so much deep differences between us. You know, discussions and can solve everything. And if on the finances side, we have an audit going on, and we do not mind having a not only audit for the rent control or something, we can have a full audit of whatever things are going on. It is in interest of both the parties. Let's look at the contracts we signed. I'm not sure whether the contracts we signed are good or bad. Let's review those. If the city has an issue with some contracts, let's talk to them. Hey, how can we fix these problems? So my option is come to the table, sit together, and 49ers, please be a businessman like any other business in the city. Don't try to misuse the city property, or don't try to misuse the benefits you are already getting. Their evaluation has gone multi-million-dollar since they came to Santa Clara. So as a social responsibility of them, please respect the Santa Clara residents and respect the Santa Clara community. And we will do the same for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chahal. Ms. Mahan, the question is, how do you plan on managing the Stadium Authority finances, and what relationship do you have with the 49ers?
As to the first part, there's only one way to manage the financing for the Stadium Authority, for Levi Stadium, and that is in compliance with the mandates of Measure J. We were so clear that no general fund money would ever be used, the general fund would never be impacted by the operation or building of the stadium. If we follow Measure J's mandates, all will be well. There's been a grand jury investigation, but what hasn't been reported is the grand jury investigation was not of the 49ers, it was the City of Santa Clara and the Stadium Authority. However, the grand jury report concluded that it found no corroborating evidence of any of the assertions of wrongdoing or misuse of funds. Later it says it was unable to verify any of the assertions made by witnesses that came before it. So to have it out there somehow that the Stadium Authority is being mismanaged to begin with is not correct. And we need to be clear in our minds that there's not been any finding of any wrongdoing in the way the Stadium Authority has been operated. I do think it's a mistake that the council merged the council meeting with the stadium authority meetings. I really think it would be much better to have separate stadium authority meetings where things can be presented in a complete manner and can be discussed openly and have the public involved rather than kind of mix it up with regular council business. So I think having just a change in process of how we conduct ourselves, sitting as council, sitting at the Stadium Authority Board of Directors, how we conduct that business should be changed and should be separated from city business so that that distinction can be made. I do have a good working relationship with the 49ers, and I'm proud of that because they are one of the biggest partners we have and one of the biggest businesses we have in this city. And if they make money, we make money, and we have to be able to talk to our partners. And I have the ability to talk to the 49ers, their management, their owners, and they will respond to me, and we need that in Santa Clara.
Thank you. Mr. Bracamonte, the question is, how do you plan to manage the Stadium Authority finances, and what relationship do you have with the 49ers?
Well, I'll start out with my relationship with the 49ers. To be honest, I'm not a true sports kind of guy, but I'm a die-hard Niners fan for one reason. And it's because the only memory I have of one of my grandfathers is him walking around the house in a Niners jacket. So it's kind of keep that with me. But as far as the other part of the question, oh, and by the way, I have not taken any money from the Niners either, nor would I ever. But I would separate the Stadium Authority and the City Council. It was kind of a joke that it wasn't like that from day one. I'd separate them into two completely separate entities. And I believe that the Stadium Authority should consist of mostly residents. As a council member, I would put the Niners in their place. Enough is enough. And I will ensure Measure J compliance from them. That's all.
Thank you, sir. We have now arrived at the time for closing statements, which will be 2 minutes each. We will begin with Mr. Bracamonte, then Ms. Mahan, Mr. Chahal, and Mr. Silva. Mr. Bracamonte?
My family has been here for generations, and I plan for it to be here for many generations to come. I share the same stories my parents have of learning to ride my bike down Monroe, of that first kiss at Booksir, that first love at Santa Clara High that didn't go too well for me, to the first job in Santa Clara, and the first time you realize how proud you are to be a Santa Claran. And I'm sure many of you might share the same similar stories. Let's ensure that there will be a chance for the generations to come to continue this Mission City legacy. It's an honor to be up here with this great company. These candidates may have more experience than me, but they have inspired me to bring change, hope, and prosperity to the city I call home. I ask of you to give me the chance to prove I am the change we all need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bracamonte. Ms. Mahan?
I served the city of Santa Clara for 8 years as mayor and 3 terms as council member. I believe these years of institutional knowledge, memory, and history are needed to guide our city into the future. I'm an attorney, a graduate of Santa Clara University School of Law, in private practice for 35 years with law offices in Santa Clara. A graduate of San Jose State University with degrees and credentials in communication and English. I was a teacher as my first career. I'm married to John Boyles, a retired San Jose Police Department sergeant and a former commander of our American Legion Post 419. We've spent years working on decades, working on my grandmother's Victorian home in the old quad, restoring it, which is still an ongoing project. My son Colin is a student at the Culinary Institute of America in New York and makes a really great chicken parmesan, which many of you, I think, sampled at last year's historic home tour dinner. There are rumors that I was recruited to run by so-called special interests. I am no one's recruit. I'm a veteran. I'm a pro. and I only play for one team, and that's Team Santa Clara. You can visit my website at pattymahan.com to read a long list of endorsers of my campaign, but there's only one endorsement that matters, and that's yours. You, a Santa Claran. Whether you've lived here all your life, have a family that goes back generations, or a new resident, just moved here from a foreign country, another state, another city, maybe even from San Jose. Whatever neighborhood you live in, however long you have lived here, it's your endorsement I seek. It's you who will determine the future of Santa Clara, not special interests, not campaign contributors, and not outside influences. Your endorsement is the only one that matters. So on November 8th, be sure to vote.
Thank you, Ms. Mahan. Mr. Chahal.
Dear residents, when you vote this election, please make an informed decision. I would encourage you to go to my website, rajforsantaclara.com, and check out my track record and my service to the community. 21 years back, I came to this country with $500 in my pocket. This community has helped me to be a successful person, a business owner. This community has helped me raise a great family, and it is my time to give back to the community. It is my promise to you all, I will truly bring resident power on the council. I will fight for your rights. I will fight for better quality of life for you all. For me, having a city with happy residents is more important than having a city with big buildings. I will make sure that our community is informed, consulted, and involved in the decision-making process. I'll make sure that our decision-making process have to be bottoms up, not tops down. I'm the candidate with the history of fighting for ordinary residents like you. Whether it's inappropriate housing, traffic congestion, keeping Northside Library open, or fighting for the soccer parks. I have done it. I have shown you. I'm involved in the community. As a former Scoutmaster, I assure you, I'll bring scouting values to the politics. Raj for residents is not just a tagline, but I'll truly represent you all in that way. As an MBA in finance, I'll bring a lot of value to the council in analyzing financial data. My education, values, experience have prepared me to make a smart, analytical, independent, and financially pragmatic decisions for you. As a council member, I'll work to improve city services, senior and youth services, and preserve neighborhood integrity. With your vote, I promise to bring resident power back on council. And I again say, I'll promise to bring the resident power back on council. And please check my website, rajforsantaclara.com, and I solicit your vote to be on the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chahal. Mr. Silva.
Thank you. In closing, I want to be perfectly clear. I think Mayor Gilmore has done a remarkable job in bringing integrity back to this council. But I can tell you that the integrity and the dysfunction of the council started 3, 4, 5 years ago. That's when it started, okay? And she's done a phenomenal job of righting the ship. It's time for change in Santa Clara. And from what I'm hearing from the citizens, and I've talked to a lot because I walk a lot, they're tired of recycled politicians. They're tired of people that have served time and time again. They want new ideas. Whether that's me, whether that's Raj, whether that's Marcus, that's fine. But the truth is, my opponent's had 20 years to get things done in Santa Clara. I don't understand why she needs 4 more. Number one. Number two, I think it's the question that my opponent didn't answer was whether or not she took money from the 49ers. She didn't actually say that she didn't address that question with the 49ers. So my question would be, I know that Patty had said that she wasn't asked by the 49ers, but what I think is going to be interesting is when our mailers come out to see where they come from. And I would ask you to look. I would ask you to look on the bottom to see where those mailers come from. I actually believe, and one of the things that I've done is you know, I've continuously fought for Santa Clara, and I'm sorry? Did you have a comment? Oh, I thought somebody said that. Okay. So basically, in closing, I think Marcus was very refreshing. It was great to hear you tonight. It was actually fun to hear you tonight. And I think going forward, what I would ask you to do is to look very closely at who's running and look very closely at what they bring to the city going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. If you would remain seated for a moment, that brings us to the end of this evening's 3 presentations for candidates for Chief of Police, City Clerk, and Council seat number 4. Tomorrow evening, starting at 6 o'clock, there will be a meet and greet here at City Hall for the candidates seeking election to seats number 3, 6, and 7 on the City Council. Then at 7 o'clock, we will begin a candidates forum. And then a week from now, we will, on a Thursday night, we will have these folks back again, and the next night on Friday, we will have candidates for seats number 3, 6, and 7. So tomorrow night is 3, 6, and 7. Let me also indicate that if you would like to submit a question for candidates for any of these offices, any of the council seats, chief of police or city clerk, please go to scvotes@santaclaraca.gov. And those questions will be reviewed, and then we will consolidate them to be able to ask them at the candidates forum. Let me again thank all of our candidates this evening. The candidates for City Council, would you be kind enough to give them a round of applause? On behalf of the City of Santa Clara and the Santa Clara Votes program, thank you and good evening.